Well, hello again. Welcome to the world's smallest airstrip with the world's biggest tug. I guess if Air Force One ever comes to call here at Lufker and Spadaro airfields out on Long Island, then, they can certainly get pulled into one of the Quonset huts over there. We're here, and I'm gratuitously panning around here, and I'll explain why in a moment. I'll explain why right now. We're here today. Actually, that's pretty nice looking with the tracks and everything all around it. That's kind of cool. We're here in, of course, the beloved modern classic, the Beech Baron with the Simcoders reality expansion pack with the aerodynamics by Rush. Because I've just installed a new video card and I want to give it a torture test. I don't want to torture you by mentioning it, but I'll just say that it begins with Titan, the name of it, and it ends with X. I was really driven to this kind of by desperation, mainly because I wanted an absolute, total, complete, and utter fluid gaming experience or flying experience, the physics of it and the scenery of it in 4K. And the reason why I wanted in 4K is because I've got a big-ass 4K monitor on my desk, which doubles as a television set in my tiny apartment. So it is a twofer. The problem is that it's a 32-inch monitor, which I suppose in the greater scheme of things is not huge. It's huge for a monitor, but it's not really, I guess, huge for a TV. But then again, my apartment is not huge for an apartment. It's really small. I wanted to have as good a flying experience as I could in X-Plane and prepared at 4K, and that is still really kind of difficult to do. It's easy to get 4K gaming in first-person shooters because, unlike flight simulators, a first-person shooter or even I suppose you'd say like a Grand Theft Auto or something like that, has a severely constrained real world, whereas in a flight simulator, you're basically obliged to render all the way out into the distance and do physics at the same time. So you're loading enormous textures, you're loading them in and out, and you're rendering them, and also providing for the flying of the plane. So before we go any further, let me show you what my settings are. We're going to fly, well, I'll back up really quickly and say that the 980 Ti I had and the 1080 that I replaced it with, they were pretty damn good for almost every use case I had. Even an airliner, even at 4K, even an X-Plane with the settings fairly high. However, you notice we're here on Long Island. The big however was New York, and New York was murder. And the real reason why New York seems to have been murder is because it simply loads up more textures than the video card has VRAM. And when that happens, things slow down to the single digits. So it isn't even necessarily, I don't think, a question of processing power on the GPU. It may simply be a function of how much VRAM. The 980 Ti has 6 gigabytes. The 1080 has 8, and this has 12. I would prefer 16 because, believe it or not, X-Plane using Drzewicki's New York scenery, I've seen eat up 9 or 10 gigs of textures, which is insane. So anyway, as you can see here, we're getting about 36, 37, 38 frames per second here at 4K at a custom airport with ortho right now, although it's hard to tell because this is Long Island, but that is ortho here. When we get closer to New York, I think we transition to stock, but this is ortho here at the moment. Not an especially cloudy day, but a kind of hazy one. And let me show you the settings. This is X-Plane 11, Public Beta 2. I cannot wait for Public Beta 3. Public Beta 2 is a little bit messy, but it's really nice. Alright, so here we go, graphics. Visual effects high. The only way to go higher is high with ambient occlusion, and I don't notice a visual difference at all, but I may be an ignoramus. Texture quality maximum, and you notice that it says 8.67 gigs of textures currently loaded, so that's not inconsiderable. At the moment, I'm just using FXAA for anti-aliasing, so there are some jaggies, but I'm doing this on a medium-sized 4K monitor, so my DPI on the screen is not bad. I've got a very high number of world objects and medium reflection detail, and the only thing I have off at the moment is scenery shadows, but we'll experiment with that in a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly out towards Manhattan. I'm going to do a lap or two of Manhattan and probably land at Teterboro and put this thing through its paces. So you ready? Here we go. Alright, let me see what we got here. Oh, the other reason why I can't wait for Public Beta 3 is because this airplane crashes when using the Garmin Touch Navigator, and that is too bad because I am absolutely in love with that. I'll turn pitot heat on, or as the French say, pitot. No, no, French don't say pitot. They say pitot. Oh, I have no idea. No, they say pitot. It's a French word, for God's sake. All right. We'll try to avoid the tug, and we'll get the hell out of Dodge. I think this runway is just a little short for this plane. I guess we'll find out in a minute, although we've got about a 15-knot headwind, so yeah, maybe we'll make it. There we go. Yeah, we'll make it. Easily. Alright, so let's go gear up and head to Manhattan. I think this time we'll head up the North Shore. So we'll come up the Northern State Parkway. Right now we're over the Southern State Parkway, or we just crossed it. And I can tell you for free that traffic on the Northern State is backed up 3 miles before the interchange. I have no idea what that means, but I hear that on the radio a lot. Alright, we're looking fine. And there, off in the distance, rendered already, is Manhattan. We're going to see Manhasset and Manhattan. And I think right around this sort of Tony portion of Long Island is where where they filmed the orgy in, not where they filmed, where the orgy in Eyes Wide Shut was set. Knowing Stanley Kubrick, I think they tried to film most of it in Great Britain, which is impossible because I don't think they have orgies in Great Britain. They're British after all, but you know. Alright, so here we go. This is where Long Island Sound, just a little ways up, starts to become the East River. Because the East River really isn't a river, it's a, what is it? It's a tidal channel. It's no more a river than I am. I'm a little surprised the frame rates are so low here, but the gameplay seems to be pretty smooth. And the settings are really high. Everything looks very good. But then again, this is X-Plane 11, and X-Plane 11 is a little bit on the slow side. Numerically, it seems to be on the slow side. From a actual flying perspective, it's very usable. Alright, so that up there is Throg's Neck and the Throg's Neck Bridge. And that, of course, is the Whitestone Bridge, followed by LaGuardia and Rikers Island. And that's Westchester over there. That's New Rochelle. And we're just going to boogie on in. The airplane is performing beautifully. The street grids are rendered wonderfully. Power lines and many, 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 many golf courses. It's interesting, we're down to 21 frames, which is actually lower than it's certainly lower, it's much lower by a factor of 10 frames or so than I get with similar settings in X-Plane 10. But they have said that this is not optimized, and the other thing is that this is a grotesque amount of stuff loaded. Let's just see already here, at this distance from Manhattan, how much in the way of textures we've loaded. Alright, 7.5 gigs. So that's a decent amount. And you can see we're rendering every road you can render. I wonder if the VSync is reducing the let's turn off VSync and see. We get about no, it is not having any effect one way or the other. Let's see if it has any effect on tearing. No, it really doesn't. I'm wondering whether VSync is quite working. Alright, so let's do this. Let's turn VSync back on. And let me just do. Well, no. Let's keep this up at high. And you can see there's a little bit of stuttering. There's LaGuardia. Just upset the passengers a little bit here. Alright, we'll make for uptown. Let's up the speed a little bit so that it has to render more. Give it as tough a test as we can. What we're going to do is we're going to hook a left over the Central Park Reservoir there. And then we're going to go right for the Empire State Building, and we're going to do a kind of turn around a point at that to see if we can sweep in the most objects as we can as we parallel here to our left, right down there, the Grand Central Parkway, not railroad. Alright, so here we go. I'm just going to come down to about 2,500 feet to make it even worse. Again, we're getting about 22 frames, but it's very flyable. There is the glorious park. Alright, 22, 23 frames. Alright, there is the old RCA building, or what's now called the GE building, which ultimately is probably going to be called the Comcast building or something. Or, knowing Comcast, it'll just be the FU building. Alright, so we're going to do a nice high-speed turn around the Empire State Building. Right about now. Pulling a few too many G's here because we're going very fast. This is the trouble that baseball player ran into. He ended up trying to make a tight turn over Manhattan, and it just didn't work very well. Alright, there we go. That's about as torturous a test as I can think of. And as you can see, looks pretty damn good. Here, let's go into Lower Manhattan here. Just climb up a little bit. I don't like the connotations. Little high performance climb. Alright, there we go. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, there's Ellis Island and Liberty Island, and there is the Jersey City train terminals. And there is Goldman Sachs. That's all Jersey City. And, I mean, this is, it's really miraculous scenery. I'll give them that. Alright, I think this is reasonably flyable. Let's make our way back uptown, and before we do, there's Hoboken. Let us turn on 2 times smart sample, super sparse grid, you know what I mean, super sampling anti-aliasing. All right, and let's see how. All right, it's still about 25 or 26, and it looks better. So this card seems to have horsepower for it. 22, 23. Still looks pretty good. A little bit of, slight bit of jitter, but not much. Alright, now let's do something here. Let's just see if we can give it a little help. See what the trade-offs are. And let's just reduce the world objects to medium, which is still a ton. Oh, it has to reload. Alright. Alright, forgive me, it's going to take a minute to load in all the scenery again, and I got a lot of it, I'm sad to say, or happy to say, I don't know. There's a lot of good free scenery out there, and there's starting to be a lot of good payware stuff out there, and Orbix is coming too, which should be really something. Alright, now we're cooking at 32 with double anti-aliasing. Alright, this is promising, because if you look outside here, that's a ton of objects anyway. That is a metric ton of objects, and that's just on medium. So there is Jersey. Let's see, where are we? Right. That's a lot of stuff. And now it is sweet and meaty. Alright. Let's just see what we can do here now. There's Madison Square Garden. There's the Vampire State Building. Let's pull a whole lot of G's here. Alright, and let's go land at Teterboro. So that is just about the toughest of the tough. You know what? Let's try this. Let's see if we can do 4 times anti-aliasing. That is kind of a holy grail for 4K. I don't think it's going to look very good. Well, it'll look good. I don't think it's going to perform very well. But let's just see. We're down to 23. No, it's still a little jittery. Alright, so we'll skip that. We'll go back to our now ascertained to be a very good thing. And we'll land at Teterboro, and then we'll try a little bit of West Coast scenery really quickly. I'm not following any known procedure here into Teterboro. I'm just looking for the airport and then landing at it. Try to find a windsock. Alright, there's the airport. Yes. In the borough of Teeter. It flies very nicely like this. Come down to pattern altitude, or pattern height, as our colonial cousins, as our colonizing cousins say. I like height. It's less pretentious than altitude. That, by the way, is how they pronounce it in Philadelphia. They put a Y on everything, so attitude becomes attitude. All right. Do we have a windsock? Where is windsock? I'm looking for nuclear vessels. Please tell me, where is nuclear vessels? All right. Let's see. Alright. I got nothing, so we're on our own here. Let's go into a right-hand pattern. We'll call it the right-hand Route 80 pattern here. Let's see, we're looking for that little crotch in the road there for runway 19. Kind of swoop on in from the other side. I wouldn't recommend this at home, kids. There's Route 80. Can I see the field? Right. There we go. Second stage of flaps. Where are we? There we are. I was just at that mall over there. Little strip mall. Alright, a little bit of a bounce. But who's counting? About 26 frames, and that's at a, oops, at a Drzevetsky airport here, which is notably frame heavy. Now let's go someplace that is notoriously actually frame economical, despite the fact that it's in some heavy duty terrain here. So let's just go to Mr. X6's San Francisco. Because that's our standard torture testing ground. And they always, X-Plane always wants to put you on the 10s, even though 9 times out of 100 in San Francisco, you're on the 2.8s. Let's see where the wind is. The wind is negligible, so they would probably be launching on the 1s and landing on the 2.8s. That seems to be the way that gets them the most throughput. I like the landing though on the 1.9s, which is pretty rare. And there is one landing that they use, and it is so unbelievably rare, but there are some photos and a couple videos of it up on airliners.net, and that is you shoot an approach to the 2.8s and then you circle to the 1s. So you basically fly into that hillside and then come around and land, I think, on one left. But a long time ago, I looked up some airport use statistics for runways at KSFO, and I wish I remembered where I found it. It was some sort of FAA statistics. I guess they do them for every airport on which runways get the most use. And landing on the 1s was, I'm not kidding you, it was on the order of a few dozen times out of the year, and it was mainly early in the morning when the wind was unbelievable and the traffic was very light, so they could do that. I can't imagine doing that when they're well, if they were forced to land on the 1s, they'd almost certainly be launching on the 1s too. And that would mean that, I think, because of obstacles, you can't really land on one right. So that means that screwed me. Hang on, let me fix the plane. Alright, there we go. Which means they'd be down to one runway for arriving, one for departing. Or, well, 1.5 for departing, because you could share the landing runway. But it certainly wouldn't be especially efficient, I don't think. Oh, you're going to do that. All right. Oh, don't be that way. All right, we might have flooded them. You know, there are times when this is not quite true to life, and there are times when the logic of it is a little bit inexplicable, and when fixing things doesn't fix it. Alright, the odd chance I've fouled my spark plugs, let's just change plugs, and this should fix everything. Matter of fact, let's give it a little sauna bath too. Actually, our oil temps are fine, so. And let's prime it again. Put the brakes on. None of this, by the way, is designed for X-Plane 11, so some of the things just don't work very well. So I'm just looking for peak fuel flow. Done. And done. And it should just start. Period. It's a fuel-injected engine. It's primed properly. It's not flooded, but if it is, let's unflood it right now, and it's still not going to start. Fuel cutoff, full throttle. This should clear it. But it's not. Hate when that happens. Reload the plane. Of course, it reloads the plane with the brakes off. Okay, got plenty of fuel. Primer up, Buttercup. Okay. Crack the throttles. And hallelujah. And bada bing. Boom, boom, and boom. All right. And we're getting about 28, 29 frames here. And we'll see if we can do better than that. I'm sure we can. But let's just get our visuals set a little bit better than that, because I want to look more consistency with what we had before. Go to the wrong page as usual. Edit, flight, customize, do not match real world conditions. What do we have? 35 miles visibility. 35 it is. Done. And done. Alright. Let's go flying. Well, let's set our altimeter. Okay, done. And now let's thrape those engines mercilessly, as Rich would say. the rudder is twitchier than it was before, and that's because I reinstalled X-Plane and need to recalibrate my controls. Oh, fuck. Shit! Alright, well, we're committed. Fucking birds. Alright, let's see. Gear up. They didn't do any damage, though. Alright, 29 frames. Hey, that sounds like a city in the desert. Yeah, I'll meet you in 29 frames. Alright, let's get upstairs quickly. Okay, we'll cut down on the thrapage a little bit there. Okay, we are looking good today. Taco, 31 frames, and smooth as silk, I think. And that's with anti-aliasing on. We like it. Like it a lot. Yeah, 32. Looks nice. Alright, let's start chewing up some ground here. Alright, 30, 31, 33. Go up to Mount Sutro. Little bit of Z fighting there. You see that flashing? It's probably a cloud shadow screwing things up. Here, let's see if increasing the reflection detail helps or hurts. Doesn't do anything. Let's see if decreasing it helps. Yes, it does. Okay. That's probably some work that remains to be done on X-Plane. And now let's just see what increasing our objects will do for us. So there is the scene right now of Mount Sutro. Let's just get the rest of the city in right there. Now let's up the number of objects. Again, apologies. It's going to take a second. And then I gotta go to work. Man. Oh, that moment when it says finished. Finishing asynchronous loading. All right. That's a lot of shit. Look at all the smaller buildings it fills in. That is a That is an assload of stuff. And it's still at 32, 33 frames. Let's see how it flies. 29, 30. Got a little bit of stutter. But look, I mean, look at all that crap. That is a dense-ass city. Alright, let's do a nice little orbit of the Twin Peaks Tower. Nice little flyby. Tell you what, that looks damn good. Alright, do a few wing overs too over the city, because why the hell not? Build up a little speed. Pretend we're Bob Hoover. Can we do a hammerhead? Yeah, except I lose aileron authority. And I'm going to pull too many G's right here. Follow a little terrain. Look at those Victorians on the hillside. Look at that. Do a little nap of the valley flying here. Oh, hard to stay in trim. If I go any faster, I will not be able to make that turn. Keep our alpha low. Oh boy, power lines. I hadn't counted on them. Can I get under them? I don't think so. Come over them. Alright, where am I? Airport. This way. There's the field. That's pretty good. 2 times anti-aliasing. And high objects. And I don't know if you could possibly want any more objects than this. But just for laughs, let's oh no, you know what, it'll reload the sim. I don't want to put you through that again. Why is it acting like our prop sync is still on? I can't... Oh, no, it's just I'm that good. That's what it is. I am that good. over the parking garage here. The wind is completely... No, I don't know. No, it's not much. That's good. Let's try for a full stall landing here this time. Close. Alright, let's see how it looks on the replay. Frame rate wise. Alright, that's a lot of crap. That's a lot of stuff. That is... that's a lot of objects. Wow. Oh, it doesn't display frames in the replay. Alright, well. So be it. That's pretty damn smooth. I don't mean the landing, I just mean the rendering. Although, the landing is not too bad. I do have to say, this airplane is almost impossible to land badly. It just is a sweet and forgiving plane. And apparently real-world pilots love their Barons too. The only problem is they gobble up fuel, so they're really not economically feasible anymore, but that's too bad. And if I were spending a ton of money, I'd probably get a pressurized single turbine, I guess. Like a Meridian or something like that. But still, that's a glorious airplane, and that's a pretty fair landing. And almost any way you look at it, it's smooth, so I'm very happy. Let's see what it looks like coming in over a lot of shit. Actually, let's look at it from the other side, because there's more to draw. That's pretty damn good looking. A lot of stuff to draw. And as you saw, we by no means need to go to this high a level of objects, but it can handle it. Alright, so as the mains kiss the asphalt, I'm going to leave you there, and you know, bottom line, if you're running 4K and you're running X-Plane and you're running it in a pretty heavy duty mode, you might actually you might want to look at a Titan X, or you might want to wait about a month or two. They're supposed to be out with a 1080 Ti, which might have 12 gigs of VRAM, might only have 10, but will almost certainly be processor-wise just about as fast as or faster than this. So, you know, I had a year-end bonus, and I decided to blow it on dumb stuff like this, but probably could have waited for 980 Ti, be about 600, 700 bucks American, and probably have to wait another 2 or 3 months until they clear up the back orders, because they always have them. But you know, it certainly doesn't hurt. You know, I'd say we're another generation or two away from it really being the kind of performance that you don't have to worry about this crap. But for the moment, you can get almost 95% of the way there. You know, the ideal would be 60 frames at 4K with a ton of anti-aliasing and a ton of objects and weather. We're almost there, and I figure we'll be there real soon. And I will see you real soon. So, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.